So this morning, I want to continue with talking about discernment and increase in your discernment and your spiritual gifts. Start to move you into being more prophetic. In other words, you start to see more, you start to hear more in the spirit, and God starts to reveal more things to you. So when I had, my encounter with God that changed my life, I was so hungry for the things of the spirit. And it says in scripture, it says, desire earnestly that you can prophesy. And I was like, I want everything. I'm going, God, I want everything that you've got. I want it. A dangerous prayer to pray, because God does answer. And part of that journey for me has been the vessel becoming integral in the gifting. And the gifting is, our spiritual giftings are in all of us. We all have them. It's moving to where it makes your heart sing, where you feel fulfilled, that you are right where God wants you to be, and you are, doing what God is asking you to do. And can I please just say this? If you are doing things that is constantly a hard flog, or it's constantly draining life out of you, you need to stop and look at what you're actually doing, because you may not be walking in exactly what God has for you. I've said this many times, when you're walking with God and in what he has for you, it's easy. It's a joy. It's an adventure. It's fun. And if everything's a hard flog, you've got to go, hang on a minute. Please take time to stop and look at why your life is a hard flog, why things seem to be a constant pushing a rock uphill, because there could be some reasons there that, number one, you could be doing it in your own strength. Number two, you could be pursuing something that someone's told you should be doing, rather than fulfilling what God's got on your life. Now, that has happened many times. I've been in situations where, the pastor has come up to me and said, oh, you have a ministry of helps and I need you in the kitchen. And I've just looked at them and went, yeah, nah, that's not what God has for me. Because God knows what I think about the kitchen. And I'm not a foodie. I kind of feel like I'm transitioning almost to a breatharian, because I hardly need any food these days, which is really interesting. And, I definitely do not enjoy the kitchen. So it's, people can try and put you into what they think you should be doing, rather than you standing in what God has put on your heart. So, having insight and discernment, you are growing what we call the prophetic gift. Some people will call it, being a clairvoyant and all that sort of thing. I don't particularly want to run with those words, because I feel they've been very tainted. But ultimately, the gifting is, you have insight, you have discernment, you have the gift of seeing, but also hearing and feeling is part of being prophetic. In other words, your whole body is prophetic. It is connected in the spirit, and you are resonating with God in that ability. I love the fact that Linda shared about her plants are now all of a sudden growing. I thought that was beautiful, because the plants are responding to what you carry, Linda. They're responding to the presence and the power of God. And they're drawing life. They're drawing that power to give them life. And really, when you walk in the Spirit, that is who we are. That is the fruits of our life, is that people are attracted to you because of what you carry. And it's not, oh, Dot's got a great personality. It is the love of God that you carry, his presence and his power. And we are really in an incredible era where people are really hungry for the truth of the presence of God, because we have witnessed so many different counterfeits, and there's more and more of them rising, and we need more and more voices that bring the truth of who God is. And I love some of the testimonies of, the reality that God has become for you because of our conversations here. I'm going, well, that's what it's all about. So it really blessed me to hear that. And I thank you for your feedback. So, when we're prophetic, when we are very discerning and you grow that gift, okay, it's not always, ba-bam, there it is, you got the whole package, because we have to grow it. And that comes from free will. It comes from interacting with God and asking the questions that I keep talking about, so that you can grow that aspect in your life, that gifting in your life. There are some things that come really just easily, naturally, but there are some that we have to pursue. Now, I pursued being prophetic, but I also knew that the gift was already within me. So it wasn't like I've got to work really hard to get this gifting. The gifting was already within me. The journey was learning what to do with the gift, how to use the gift, when to use the gift. And this is where wisdom is really important. And, I've said before, like kaboom, I had this connection with God, and people would come near me and I would read their mail, but I never had wisdom, and I used to blow people out of the water, and it was detrimental. And I was just like, everything was just coming out of my mouth, and I would have dreams and visions, and I would just go, yeah, God, show me that this and this is happening in your life and you need to get this sorted. And they're like, it can be like a hammer. So, and I've got to be honest with you guys, I've had to learn to bring God's grace and love onto the gift, so that it wasn't detrimental, that it became a powerful tool where God could use me to bring change into people's life. And I want to talk about that a bit more today as well. So, living prophetic is really about how deep your relationship is with God. The one thing I've found about, my relationship with God and how he works is he wants to tell you things. He wants to reveal secrets to you. And I love that. I love God telling me secrets. And there are times he'll go, I know when he's telling me a secret. And I have to hold that secret. And I've had to show him that I could be integral with the things that he shares with me. This has been part of the growth, that we go through, because often a lot of people will get things in the spirit and they will ring their best friend, or they'll, blurt it out. And I've learned that there is a timing connected with the things that God reveals. And that's where, I can feel when God is revealing a secret to me that I need to hold. And I hold it until he tells me what to do with it. or a confirmation will come along that confirms what he's shown me. And I just go, yes, God, you showed me that. This is how I communicate with God. It's very simple, guys. There's no formulas. There's no, 10 steps. It's about having an open heart and an open spirit to receive and to listen. You are training yourself to hear the voice of God. And then go back to asking the questions, what do you want me to do with it? So a prophetic person sees people, it sees circumstances and possibilities through God's heart, through God's eyes. I think this is a prayer that I've prayed millions of times. It's like, God, let me have your heart for that person. Let me see beyond the natural circumstances and even behavior that person is presenting, because this is where you discern what's at work. Is there trauma? Is there hurt? Is it an entity? This is how you tap into how to help them spiritually and partnering with God. And it's not telling them what you see, it's holding them in the spirit to bring the breakthrough and the awareness that God is wanting to bring in their life. Now, as a parent, I've always looked at my kids through the eyes of God. Always. I've always seen who God had created them to be. Now, were there times where their behavior did not line up with who God created them? Absolutely. But instead of speaking to the negative or their outworkings in the natural, I would always speak to who God created them to be. And that's when you can stand in unconditional love, because it's not judgment, it's not criticism, it's not punishment. It's a way of drawing the DNA of God out in them, the true character and purpose that's on their life, and wooing them with unconditional love to step into it. Now, ultimately, it is their choice. It's all of our choices, guys. We have a choice. Every second of the day, we can choose how we want our life to be, what our relationship with God is. So, being prophetic is deeply, very deeply grounded in relationship with God. And that again comes to knowing who God is. Because I've heard many prophets prophesy judgment that has not been the heart of God. We don't get to judge. Judgment is never been ours. That is God's and God's alone. Do we get to discern? Absolutely. Do we get warnings? Absolutely. Because God is always about protecting. He's protecting us, but he's also protecting them. And this is where we've got to come away from this elitism, because often the elitists think that they're the only ones that God protects and favors. That's not true. God is concerned about every single one of us. All the time, every minute of the day. He is concerned about you. He is working on your behalf. God does not have any favorites. Although When we grow in the Spirit, we get more responsibility. With that responsibility, you get more insight, you get more downloads, you get more instructions, you get more jobs to do in the Spirit. But, you know, the thing that I absolutely can guarantee, that God never gives you more than you can handle. And if you know, you go through turbulence. We went through huge turbulence before the wedding. It was crazy. I'm like, this is not how it should be. But God was ushering in a huge breakthrough, which had to happen. Not for me, but for my daughter and her partner. It had to happen. And they got the breakthrough. It was like 2 days before the wedding, and they got the breakthrough. And it was like, oh my goodness. So yeah, that's right. So and I had to sit back and go, God, I know you're in this. I know you've got this. I know that you're working here. And whatever way this goes, I'm in it with them. I'll support them in it. And they had a huge shift. Was it an easy one? No. Was it hard to watch? Yes. But I knew that God's hand was in it. And this is part of when you have discernment. Sometimes we can get into this, I've got to fix it. You know, I'm going to make it all right. And God's going, no, I'm at work here. Don't interfere. And that's where discernment comes in again. Don't interfere with the hand of God. Because what happens is you will stop those people from getting the breakthrough that they need. It's why one of the biggest things we need to do, guys, is constantly hand over everything that we're seeing, everything that we've been told in the Spirit. Release it back to God. He'll tell you when he wants you to do something. So let's look at what that looks like. I'll give you some scriptures as well for a prophetic lifestyle. In Romans 4:17, it describes Abraham's faith as calling those things that are not as though they were. And I feel we need to start doing that a lot more. We need to start proclaiming God's heart and will into people's lives and our own lives. We can get caught up with taking care of everyone else, but we don't take care of ourselves. The other thing is 2 Corinthians 5:16. It tells us to regard no one according to the flesh. Now, what does the world teach us? It teaches us to judge people's reactions, behaviors, all the time. That's what we get thrown in our face. When we're in the Spirit, we don't look at the circumstances. We're looking in the Spirit. We're just using discernment. And then Philippians 1:16 reminds us to believe God is completing what he started. And that's in all of us. Scripture says it's layer upon layer, precept upon precept. That's how God works in our lives. When we live prophetically or with deep discernment, it means we do not define people by their current behavior, visible weaknesses, or unfinished process. Guys, we are all in a process. That's what going from glory to glory means. The word glory actually means representing the power and the presence of God. We all grow from glory to glory, strength to strength. And God's heart is always full of capabilities, possibilities. That's why, the word impossible means I'm possible. The negative says it's impossible, but I'm in possibility. That's what the presence and the power of God says, is doing. Everything in my life is possible. Everything in your life is possible because God is orchestrating your steps. And the steps come from a deeper relationship with him. The more you grow in God, the more he entrusts you, the more he gives to you, as I said. It's interesting because in Proverbs 25:2, it says, the glory of God is to conceal a matter, but the glory of kings is to search it out. Being a king talks about governance. We are all called to be kings. We are all called to a level of governance. We have power and authority every single day. You don't have it today and not tomorrow, guys. It's there every day. The choice is, do you use it? Or do you let circumstance come and control you? Or do you come under your circumstances? This is again, the conversations that we've had about staying above, not coming underneath. And I know when they are your children or your partner or family, you are so connected emotionally with them that it can be it's hard to distance that. It takes discipline to do that, to step back and go, okay, God, I know you're doing something here and I'm trusting you with it. And ultimately, your family, your children, they are yours to steward, but they don't belong to you. They belong to God. I just feel to say this, if you have a partner that doesn't believe, it's not your responsibility to make them see the truth. The most powerful weapon that you have is that you love them unconditionally and you hold them up in prayer without them even knowing. Unconditional love wins every time. Because when we love unconditionally, we are not passing judgment. We are not passing criticism. We are not putting our expectations on them. And again, this is what religion has so beautifully done, that we condemn one another instead of looking at who God is in them. Not everyone is comfortable to go to church on Sunday morning or go to, Bible study the way that you might like. Your partner mightn't want a bar of it, and that's okay. God doesn't have rules and regulations. Only man does. You need to be free in your relationship with God. I have the best encounters with God when I'm driving. Oh, hang on a minute. That doesn't say that in the Bible. It says you have to come to church because that's where you find God. You don't find God in church. You find him in the simplest things. Walking along the beach, walking in your paddock, on your farm, on your property, going for a drive. God is everywhere. And again, the rules have been restricted to you can only find God at church. How many of us have dragged people to church thinking they're going to find God there? For them to go, I don't want to borrow this. That concept is so wrong. This is where we have to break out of those limitations, because if God's saying to you, I want that person to experience me, if your response is, well, I better take him to church, or I better take him to a prayer meeting, you've lost the opportunity of what God is doing. When God speaks to you right there and then to bring words of encouragement, because that's what prophecy is. It's to encourage, it's to lift up, it's to bring comfort. If you see someone in need and you go, hang on a minute, I need to take you to church because then you can be comforted, you've missed it. God is moving all the time to touch people's hearts and lives. Also, the words that we speak carry life. Life and death are in the power of the tongue, Proverbs 18:21. Our words are never neutral. They are never have any life on them. They always have life. They always have creative ability on them. They're containers of information that carry spiritual substance. When you're speaking life, there's a substance to it. There's a power on it that can touch people's hearts. Scripture says it can cut between the soul and the spirit. Do you know how intertwined our soul and our spirit are? And yet the words can be divided into that. And also Scripture says between the bone and the marrow. That's how powerful our words are. We can impact grace and unconditional love on those that hear our words. Words that impart encouragement. They describe possibility. They strengthen people to move forward. This is why prophetic teaching and, carry unusual weight. When you hear a true prophetic word, it does something to you. It brings an encounter. It just brings transformation. It brings transfiguration. It brings encouragement. It releases the grace of God, the love of God onto someone's life. And then there's different ways of communicating. It's not about often I hear prophetic words again, it's about, well, you have to do this and then God will do that. It has conditions. That's not God. And not only that, it discounts what Jesus did. This is where we come into that resurrection power. In other words, we are no longer condemned. We no longer miss the mark. We no longer, are sinners. And you know what I think about that word. Because if we have that sort of teaching and those prophetic words that bring condemnation and judgment, then we're nullifying what Jesus represented on the earth. He is our example of perfect relationship with God. And he said, I've paved the way so you can have that relationship with your Father as well, with your Creator. That turns things on its head, doesn't it? Where it's like getting the whip out and smashing ourselves and going, oh, I've missed it again. Oh, God's judge. Oh, God's going to punish me. Oh my gosh, so many people think God's going to punish them. The punishment was already taken, was already dealt with. When we live from the prophetic, we see others through the eyes of God. We ask God, what is he doing? Not what's wrong with them, but what are you doing here, God? We can release grace where effort has failed. We talk to what God has called them to be and draw that up. That's what brings life to them. But not only towards others, towards ourselves, guys. Some of you need to start speaking God's heart towards yourself. Releasing God's heart towards yourself. No, some of the lies that we buy into is, oh, I'm not smart enough. Oh, I haven't prayed hard enough. Oh, I've missed it today. The importance of keeping yourself spiritually clean. Remember, shake off the day. Deal with the day. It's an important tool that I've shared with you guys, that you start afresh every morning. It's a new day. Shake off yesterday. It's like today is the present. So let's make that word God's present in your today. If you have prophetic words or discernment for people, it's not your responsibility to fulfill that prophetic word. Ultimately, it's always an invitation. God is calling us to come deeper. And it's always people's choice. Now, let me also say this, guys. Sometimes people are in your life for a season, or you're in someone else's life for a season. It could be for 10 minutes where you speak into their life. And it could be for a lifetime. It depends. I've found that I have been in many people's lives for a season, some longer, some shorter. But then I've done what I've needed to do, and then they move on. They move to the next. And if they haven't received from me, God will set them up to receive from someone else, because he's always working on our behalf. We are called to seek knowledge and the insight for the benefit of others, but also for ourselves. This is where we use wisdom. This is where we use understanding and counsel, the 7 spirits of God, revelation. To mature you. And I want to say this, guys, we can speak to all situations, all circumstances. We can speak to them. The key is to speak God's heart and will. I've seen that happen many times too. I had a friend that was very, very sick. She had a particularly nasty cancer. But she used to say to me, oh, I want to go. I don't want to be here anymore. My kids don't need me anymore. And I'm going, stop it. That's not God's heart will for you to just opt out because that's what you think you want to do. And, all of a sudden people were praying and, declaring that she was going to be healed. And I'm listening to the Spirit, and God said, it's not going to happen because her heart does not want it to happen. And she left. She left after a couple of years of, going through a lot of the medical things, because in her heart, she'd already decided she wanted to opt out. Going to share something with you. When my dad died, it's quite a few years ago, God told me that he was going to pass away. So he lived in a different state to me. So every night I rang him, spoke to him every night. And because I'd got it, I'd seen it in the spirit that he was going to pass away, and I didn't want him to pass away. And every night I'd ring him, check up on him, make sure he's okay, how he's feeling. And the Friday night that I rang him, he says, "Yeah, I'm just going to go outside and put the bins out. I've just written a letter to Europe," and he's all good. And I'm going, okay. Now I was hanging on to him as best I knew back then. And then the next day we get a phone call that he had dropped dead while he was putting the bins out. Well, I tell you guys, I got in my car so quick. I had a 10-hour trip in front of me. And the whole way I'm praying and I'm going, God, I'm calling him back. I'm calling him back. I'm not prepared for him to be not here on this earth. I'm calling him back. And my sister was in the car with me, and I had my daughter in the back seat, and I'm just praying in light language the whole way. And I just kept saying to my sister, I'm calling him back. And I'm praying, I'm praying, I'm praying. And we're 6 hours in the trip, and we're about 4 hours away. And we went to fill up with petrol. And I got out of the car, and I'm calling him back. I'm bringing him back. And my sister's looking at me going, okay. I was so convinced and intentional on that happening. And then I got in the car and God just spoke to me. He said, what would he want? And I was like, what? He goes, what would he want? And I said, he would want to be with you. And he said, that's right. He's here with me. And I had to let that go. But you know what? Part of that conversation was God said to me, he goes, yes, you can do that. But what would he want? I love the fact that God told me that I could do it, because I knew that I could. And I knew that if I had wanted to, I would have. But when he said to me that what would your dad want? I go, he would want to be with you. And so that's where I let him be. We got to the house and went through the funeral. And I just knew that God was, my dad was with God. And it's a beautiful thing when God shows you that. But I love the fact that God said to me, yes, you can do that. We are so full of possibilities, guys, when we are connected with God. We are world changers. It's the wisdom of how you use it. You can use it for good, or you can use it for your own gain. To call my dad back would have been my own gain. My dad probably would have told me off. How dare you bring me back? My sister and I have a bit of a running joke that if either of us went, we would call each other back because she was in that with me. Because she's sitting there going, yeah, okay, Dot, okay, Dot. Too funny, guys. But God meets us with where we're at. He knew my heart's desire, but he knew what my dad's desire was. I had to surrender what I wanted for him to have what he wanted. God will meet you in every situation and circumstance. That's why our prayers, we need to pray God's heart and will. I've seen people pray things that and ask for things that they live to regret. That's why wisdom is asking God what he has for you. Wisdom is asking God what his heart is in every circumstance and situation. And we learn from it, we grow from it, but we go deeper in the things of the Spirit. But ultimately, we become closer in relationship with God. That is your foundation. It is your rock. When you have that, nothing can sway you. Nothing can deter you. Nothing is impossible because in him I am possible, as you all are. I'm going to open up the floor if there's any questions here today, guys.
Hi, Dottie.
Hey, Bradley.
Um, I don't know that I have a question. I just wanted to speak to what Jenny was asking last week, and there was so many things so much that your words that resonate with me. And one of the things that really helped me a lot is when you talk about like generational curses and that you can carry those from your parents, and that really helped me grow a lot. But so many of your words just resonate, Dottie, with me, and I look forward to spending this time with you, and it's special to me, and just have a lot of love for you. And I woke up a couple, I don't know if it was the night after your last, but I woke up in the middle of the night or middle of the morning, and just thought about you and your daughter, and I was just sending you a lot of love, and I felt like maybe you were at the wedding celebration afterwards, and I just a lot of good stuff, Dottie, and I love hearing it.
Thanks, Bradley. I certainly was very aware of your prayers, very much so. And I even saw it in the spirit. So it was really beautiful because my daughter got me to walk down the aisle first because she wanted to honor me. And it was really beautiful.
And Dottie, I'm going through some things, and I have been for a few years now, dealing with my idea, it's of what I what I was trying to create, and I'm still working on it. And today really resonates with me about prophecy is to encourage and then do God's will. And you know, I had an apprentice come through some of my projects years and years ago, and he sought me out for a long time after that to come run work for me. He's a fifth, sixth generation of a construction company here in the Kansas City area, and he called me a couple a little over 2 years back and had some distressed projects, and I came on board with them, and I turned them around, and I've done some good work since then. And you know, I just got a little was getting frustrated with him because, you know, the foundation we created, you know, he kept wanting to encroach and change things, you know, in it. And I just was starting to feel like it's hard to build a foundation to work, help him out and work with this company with, you know, it's like building a foundation on sand. You just can't do it, and it's just moving. But just your words tonight just helped me realize that, you know, I'm I'm in this opportunity for a reason. And he may be dealing with generational curses and well, and you know, and from, well, you know, for 6 months or so, just frustration, you know, with the encroachment and the changing of his conditions. And you know, and I started to feel like, you know, and I've heard him say in in some manager meetings that he, you know, he said I like money. And you know what I heard in my heart is I love money. And you know, it just hardened me a little bit towards him, and I realized that's the wrong reaction, you know.
Yeah.
And I just,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
thank you for your words, sweetheart. I love you.
Thanks, Bradley. We love having you here. So I just want to take this minute to speak into your life, if that's okay, Bradley, just personally. I just sense that there is so much more to you than you even give yourself credit for, and that God is going to give you a voice more so as you grow in that relationship with him. Just let him speak to you, and you'll be able to speak words that will change circumstances and situations. And I just release prosperity, because God does want us to be prosperous. That's his heart's desire. And I just want to release that over you. And I just see that you have incredible work ethic, and you have a deep heart for God. And there's going to be some shifts in the next couple of months for you, but they're going to be good ones. So just trust the process that God has for you, Bradley. And remember, he always loves you, and he's always in it with you.
Dottie, I one of the things my mom would struggle with, and you know, it's just fear and concern for the future. And you know, I sometimes that'll drift into my heart and our thoughts. And but if I just look at what he's done in my life, he just moves incredible obstacles out of my way. And you know, and all that fear is just for nothing. And I just feel that hurts him. And
Yeah. So the word fear is false evidence appearing real. That's why we can't go into fear. We've got to stay in that place of trust. God has us. We just keep our ear open to his directions. I know I've got some changes coming up. I'm going, God, well, which way do I jump? He hasn't shown me yet. So I just go, okay, I'll just sit back. That's okay. I know that you will direct me. You will guide me. He never, ever leaves us. That's his promise. He never abandons us. We are always knee deep in blessing.
Dottie, a question real quick is just maybe a little help in a few words. I got two questions, but the first one would be, you know, just hearing him, you know. And because I feel, because I have spoken up, you know, community wide at some meetings and stuff like that. And I did it with love, and I never had anger, and I just I feel the attack from maybe darker energy, when I have spoke up, and I've seen, that the opportunity for fear to encroach in. A lot of times most of the time I don't go into it, but just hearing what his will, I spend a lot of time trying to, just tune into that. And
Yeah. So the question is how to hear God's will. Is that the question?
yeah,
Okay. Well, the key is to ask questions. Always. It's like, God, you want me to do this or you want me to do that? And you will feel his presence. You will feel a pulling towards certain things. There are some things that I just know instantly, yep, that's the way I've got to walk. Other times I go, I don't know about that. And then I ask him to show me down the timeline. So when I look down the timeline, I see, okay, if I make this decision, then this is the outcome. And I can see whether it's good or bad. And sometimes I look at it, I go, oh, yeah, I don't want to go down that road because it's going to blow up in my face. So we all have this ability that God wants you to know your future. We don't play blind mice. Okay, he wants you to know. So the more you ask him to reveal, but stay in peace, don't go into fear, the more he will reveal. And it will come really random. It'll come with, so even at the wedding. Now, at the wedding, guys, I wore 5 hats. I was the mother of the bride. I was the facilitator of the wedding, as in the ceremony. I was the organizer as well, making sure I was the host, making sure everyone was okay. And I was also coordinating to make sure the MC. And people came into me and go, oh, wow, you're such a great speaker. You'd make a great MC. You'd make a great motivational speaker. And I'm like, oh, really? Because half of them don't even know what I do because they're Jessica and Joelle's friends, right? But it was really interesting how many people said that to me. I had the wedding celebrant because I don't do the legalities of a wedding. She came and she said, I was absolutely in awe when you were speaking. She said, I never get that. That was the power and the presence of God. Now, my heart's desire moving forward, can I say, is I'm feeling that God is asking me to go public with more types of speaking opportunities. And I'm like, okay, God, I'm happy doing this. I'm happy, being in the background. But I know that God is pulling on me to do more than what I'm doing. And I'm just going, well, you have to open the doors. I'm happy to move with God in any way that he wants. I can't do this in my own strength. I have no way of making this happen. God will have to make it happen. But those words, what everyone was saying, was a confirmation of what God's been telling me in my heart. That's the example that I'm giving you. And it wasn't just 1 or 2 people, it was probably nearly 50%, which was over 50 people said it to me. God always confirms what's in your heart. And you can ask him for confirmation. Don't ask him for signs because the enemy can answer that. Okay? Ask him for confirmation of what's in your heart. There are things that you keep in your heart that is a secret between you and God. Let God fulfill the secret that he's put in your heart. There is wisdom in not speaking everything that God shows you, because we don't want to give the enemy any knowledge of what's going on. Okay? That's why I hold things close to my heart. All right, one more person. Is there any more questions? Because then we've got to wrap it up, guys. Everyone all good?
Dottie, if no one else is speaking up, just a reminder of how you feel about sin. You spoke about, you all know that how I feel about sin. Just a
Okay, well, sin is what we've been taught through religion, is where you deserve punishment. The word sin actually means miss the mark. All of us miss the mark. Doesn't mean that we are sinners that need condemnation and punishment. That is a religious rhetoric that keeps you powerless and limited. Okay? We all miss the mark. But if we go back to what Jesus did on the cross, he already paid the price for it. Now, does that mean that we go out and do bad things? Absolutely not. You can't do bad things if you're in relationship with God. It just goes against every fiber of your being. It doesn't work to go to watch pornography and have a relationship with God. There's a conflict within you because it's God's DNA that's rising up, the Spirit of God within you that's coming to pass, that's growing you. When you're in right relationship with God, when you're hungry for that relationship with God, you don't want to do anything wrong. And it's not because I have to do things right. It's because I want to do things right. I cherish my relationship with God. So I want to protect it. That's the difference between religion, where you know about God in your head, or when you're truly connected in the Spirit, where the relationship comes from the heart. All right, guys, I've got to switch off there, my friends. So I will see you all next week. Love you lots. Thanks for being here. Be blessed, grow in God, and know that you are awesome.